name is Tom Mullen, and I'm the Vice President for Administration with NAI. And thank you very much for this opportunity to do this sort of virtual meet and greet with the sunny Southeast. When we realized that back in the fall that we weren't going to be able to have our normal visitor region, have a board meeting at the same time, meet members in person at a regional workshop this year, we decided that we'd try to reach out to all the regions and do some form of, well, I think this is Jay calling in, that's great, some form of like meet and greet. And as it turns out, we've been able to participate in all the regional workshops, or as region one of the regions that not a conference not a workshop. So it's been really great meeting and seeing people, and it's really wonderful to have everybody here. And Jay is on the call, so I'll turn it over to him, and he can marshal us through and lead the rest of us. So welcome, Jay.
Well, that wasn't easy, but here I am, and glad to be joining everyone. How's everybody doing? Oh, has the conference been good?
Well, we've had one session so far, and I may be a little bit biased because it was one of my coworkers, but I think it was absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's a great start. Wonderful. I'm looking around the screen to see who's got their camera on. I see Ren down there. Hey, Ren. Tom, Medema, how are you doing? A lot of our board is here. I see Philip Smart over there. Hey, Philip. Jolie Reynolds, how are you? So it's good to see everybody. And we, the board, have really enjoyed getting to visit with members in the regional meetings across the country this spring. And as Tom probably said, and as you probably know, this is the last of them. But this is just a great way to visit since we can't all be together. The interesting thing about this is usually the board goes to one region meeting, and we enjoy doing that in person. But this year, because region meetings are online, we've been able to attend every one of them in one way or another. I want to introduce the board. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a second. I'm Jay Miller. I'm your NAI president. And sometimes, yes, sometimes finding that Zoom link is a little bit tricky for me, but I found it, and here we are. You guys probably already know, I spent my career in Arkansas State Parks, chief of interpretation there for the last 27 years of my state park career, and retired several years ago. And Arkansas State Parks, like all of you guys, has a tradition of being involved and engaged in NAI, and seeing our young interpreters be engaged in NAI and meet people regionally and nationally and even internationally, and then seeing them grow and mature is just a thrill. And a great part of that maturity is through NAI, because the people they meet, the ideas that are generated, the sharing of tips and techniques and skills, and it's just been wonderful for the Arkansas State Park system. So when I retired, it was a natural step for me to say I want to continue to be involved in NAI. And I'm delighted to have been able to be on the board and then be your president for a couple of years. So that's my background. I'm looking to the right of my screen, and we'll come back to Tom last, if you will, and let him talk a little bit about the strategic plan and a couple of other things. But I'm going to turn this over to Pepe. I see him right there on my left, and then he can introduce the next board member after he introduces himself.
All right, well, hello everybody. I was just scrolling, just like Jay, scrolling down the list of folks that are online, and it's exciting to see that I've met most people on this meeting. So it's almost like my family, my NAI family. this is my version of a family reunion, as close as we can for the time being, but hopefully even closer next year. And for some of us, it's just, you know, a drive 15 minutes down the road. For some others, it's like 3 hours. Or last time I saw Cindy, I was actually at Pisgah National Forest, and there she was. They had a special event. But I was just elected to the board for NAI. For those who don't know me, I was elected last year, but I served previously on the board of directors as the director of the Sunny Southeast as well. And I work for Mecklenburg County Park and Rec in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been here for about 13 years. And this year, at least this time I got elected, Jay also thought it was a great idea. Not quite sure why, so I need to talk to him, to chair a leadership development task force. And that's what I'll be working on this year. We have a meeting scheduled later this week on what is the direction, what does leadership mean to us. And if you follow the Facebook group for the Sunny Southeast, I believe Brian Till kind of started the conversation, you know, asking all the members of the Sunny Southeast in one word, what does leadership mean to you? So I'm sure we'll have some great conversations. If you have any ideas or suggestions, let me know, let Brian know, and I'm looking forward to serving on the board for NAI. And I need to pick the next person to introduce. And if I go down the list, the next one in line is Tom Medema.
Well, let me step off of my relaxed perch back there, and also a fellow member, a former member at least, of the leadership committee. So my name's Tom Medema, and actually the last regional that I went to was Sunny Southeast. I shared a cell with Jay Miller, cinder block cell in Puerto Rico many years ago. I remember arriving on Super Bowl Sunday and my one and only trip down to Puerto Rico, and it was memorable and really fun to be part of that group, and it's nice to see you all. So back then, I think I was an elected board member, and I'm kind of a pseudo board member now, ex officio, for the National Park Service because of the size and scale of the interpretive program and the number of interpreters who are members and the federal workforce. I'm fortunate and pleased to be able to continue in an ex officio role on the board. So my day job is as the assistant associate director for interpretation, education, and volunteers for the National Park Service here in Washington, D.C., having previously been in Yosemite and Rocky Mountain National Park and a variety of other places, but a long time engaged in NAI, and really interested in the leadership development side, which is why I worked on that specifically a number of years ago when I was in the elected position, and volunteered to help Pepe again as we try to push the leadership development for interpreters, you know, and using our conferences, using our trainings to really look at leadership skills. And my experience has been that we haven't always showed up in the room as equals to the leadership team. There's so much power sometimes in law enforcement, and so much power in facilities, and so much money in staff, and some of these other organizations. And how do we show up and lead, in addition to just leading in interpretation internationally? So anxious to stay involved in that, and really glad to see all of you here. So thanks for having us. Okay, so now I'm supposed to actually pick somebody. I didn't go down my list, so I'll pass it down to Mary. How about that?
Thanks, Tom. Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Lone. I am a board member in my second term, and it's been my pleasure to be on the board since I think I started in 2017, if I can count back right. But I've been involved with NAI for many years before that. I am currently the Interpretive Nationalist Section Director, and I was previously also. So I recognize some folks from that and just from attending our NAI conferences. But I'm actually talking to you today from across the country. I am in just outside of Reno, Nevada. And I'm working from home, but I work for the Bureau of Land Management, so I'm another federal person like Tom. And my day job is I'm actually an aviation manager. I don't do interpretation very much, but I try to do it as much as I can. So I'm trying to make these people understand that interpretation is important, and they actually do a fair amount of it without really knowing what interpretation is. So that's my goal, is to get them to know what is interpretation. So I'm also very interested in the leadership. I'm not on the committee with Pepe, but I'm definitely interested in the what will come out of that for sure. And I am, though, chair of the NAI committee, the membership committee. So kind of tying into what Pepe and Tom have said is we are very interested in what our members value from NAI, what our members want from NAI, and how we can help you in your careers and your professional development. So as Pepe said, let me know if you have ideas on that, and I definitely am more than willing to hear you out, and I want to help you help us make NAI be the best that we possibly can. So thanks for having me here and all of us, and I look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you. And I'm going to send it over to Jay Schneider.
Hey, thanks, Mary. Jay Schneider. I am a assistant superintendent with Hobbs State Park in Northwest Arkansas. So the other Jay from Arkansas. I wear a few hats for NAI. I am the Region 6 director, and every director of a region and section serves on the advisory council. And I guess I didn't step back fast enough. I am the chair of the advisory council. So I get to work with Christine and Philip and Mary and several other folks working on different things for NAI. And two of us, myself and Amy Rawl, serve on the national board as representatives of the advisory council. So I take my role serious as I represent all the directors as well as all the members, and working on everything that we work on. So it's a lot of fun. I serve with Pepe on that task force, and Pepe, I posted on Region 6 right away, what's one word in leadership? And the first response within 10 seconds was wise. So we have lots of big expectations to fill. I'm happy to be here, and I want to shout out to Ren Smith. Haven't seen you in a while, Ren. Good seeing you. So, and I will turn it over to our illustrious leader, Millward. I see him on here.
Thank you, Jay. It's great to be here with everyone where it is decidedly not sunny. It's cold here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we have snow forecast the rest of the week. But I'm Millward Simpson. I'm the new executive director for NAI. I've been here since late November. I come from the government nonprofit worlds, having worked in the arts and humanities, in the public parks, in historic sites, and in conservation. And just very, very excited. I was looking at your conference title, Moving Forward with Purpose, and I think it's just apropos to kind of how I feel about NAI right now. We just had a very productive spring board meeting, and we really are moving forward with purpose. The rubber's starting to hit the road, and we're starting to align our work and our structure and our leadership around fulfilling our new strategic plan, which is going to, I think, really help us serve the field in a number of ways. One is prioritizing justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility, and that work and that focus throughout our organization, providing more leadership development opportunities for our members, looking to expand our partnerships, and looking to be responsive to the needs of the field, particularly as we kind of emerge out of the pandemic and we enter a more virtual kind of a world. And I know that you've been focusing on technology and how to integrate it into your work as frontline interpreters. And I don't know if you're all conferenced out after this workshop, but if you're not, we're very excited about InterpTech, which is happening in a couple of weeks. I just put a link to InterpTech there in your chat. And it's going to be an exciting conference that, again, is going to be focused on how do you take advantage of all that communications technology kind of has to offer to make sure that we can continue to do our work and and have greater reach and respond to this virtual world. So just very pleased to be here, excited to work with such a skilled and passionate group of folks who serve on this board, and look forward to working more with all of you there in the sunny Southeast. So thanks for having us.
Well, let's see. Is that our group today? I believe that is. Except for Tom. Our board is a great group of people who bring a lot of experience and a lot of dedication, and they devote a lot of time to the National Association. This year, we're working on a strategic plan. We went through a large process, which Tom led, to search for a new executive director. We were very disappointed to see Margot go, but she had certainly put in wonderful time and been a great leader, and was just the right person at the right time. And I think through our process that Tom led, we had a nationwide search and lots of people applied for this position. And we're really pleased to have found Millward, and I think he's going to do a great job for us. He already is doing a great job for us. Let me turn this over to Tom. He's our Vice President for Administration, and that's a pretty heady position. A lot of things fall right in his lap, and he has been able to pick those up and make sense of them and move ahead with them. So Tom?
Thanks, Jay. Hey, and for most of you, many of you may know, I wrapped up my tenure at Unity College just this past June. Seems like just yesterday, and I'd never been in a job as long as I was up at Unity, so it was an interesting transition. But now I'm working with the Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District as its administrative director, and another part-time job with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension and its STEM Ambassador program. So I'm still got my hands and I'm utilizing my interpretive skills and planning extensively. So, but like Jay mentioned, this past year has been a pretty exciting and challenging year for NAI. And let's be honest, I know all too well that many of the members down in sunny Southeast were dramatically affected by the pandemic. We had scores of members who were laid off or furloughed, or they were still employed, but they were doing jobs completely outside their normal responsibilities. And that also happened with NAI. We saw the association have to pivot dramatically in how it provided services to the members, to the point where, you know, we did apply and were successful in getting the first of the personal, the PPP loans, which was a really great benefit to the association to ensure that we continued on, didn't have to lay anybody off in the national office, and still continued providing services to the members in a new format. Like all of you, we also transformed into on the fly, a virtual type of membership, just like lots of other professional organizations. Along the way, though, we had some great successes. We had a tremendous response to our national conference. Postponed it. You know, we're still going to go back to St. Augustine, but it's a few years down the road. It's darn. I was looking forward to that personally, a great deal. But we had a great record attendance for the virtual conference, and it was different, but at the same time, really powerful experiences. And then the international conference, which was bridging the North American Interpretive Associations, that's normally our international efforts have brought together anywhere between 100 and 150 people from around the world at different locations. But this one, in the virtual format, brought just about 300 people together for the conference, and it was very well attended. Some exceptionally great concurrent sessions and keynotes throughout it. But the two big things that Jay mentioned in his introduction to me was strategic plan, and we was very nice that last spring when we had our board meeting, Margot announced to us all that she was going to retire, but she did give us 6 months approximately to find her replacement, which was great. We found Millward after an international search that was very competitive, actually. And at the same time, we were undergoing, we're beginning the hard phases of a strategic plan that began back in June of 2019. And the most exciting thing about this strategic plan, taking the success of the last one, but building upon it, we literally had hundreds, perhaps thousands of definitely thousands of members were inputting into the development of the strategic plan. Through the efforts of the college and university academic section, we had the most comprehensive membership survey we've ever had, and it brought in over 1,600 responses from members, a really great response rate. That foundation built also on comments from members, some really instrumental focus groups, different folks chiming in at their various points, and then just lots of comments from members and especially leaders from stakeholders in the regions and sections, as well as external partners, really provided the board some really fantastic information. And then COVID hit. And what we thought would be a in-person dynamic type of strategic planning process had to change. We set the course, we still wanted to do it. And fortunately, we had a great facilitator in Evie Kirkwood. She knew NEI. She had just recently retired from her work with her parks department in the Midwest. And so she had the available time. And at the same time, she was as a past president of NEI, she was well acquainted with the nuances of what goes on. So we actually had a virtual planning process last spring. And then we had a much deeper one in August where somehow we did 3 days of strategic planning virtually. And what could be a terrible experience was a really positive experience for all of us. And so I'd like to share with you, I put the link in there, and I know for your bedtime reading, you can take a look at the strategic plan and enjoy and just revel in all the work that went into it. But I'd just like to share with you this particular page on it that I really think is really quite instrumental because of the change in leadership and because of COVID. And also just to keep ourselves nimble because things change so rapidly in our profession in the field. The plan is 3 years long. It's not designed to be a 5 or 10 year plan, and it's also measurable and achievable. That may sound somewhat familiar, but it's also aspirational in that we have set some pretty lofty, but we feel very comfortable in it, that we can achieve it. And so overall, the plan, the mission of the organization remains the same, but these 4 goals, A, B, C, and D, are where we're tying our annual planning by not just the board, but also the national office staff. We're tying these things together and routinely now keeping track of it and driving the work of the association by what was set forth in the strategic plan. Doesn't mean we won't continue to do the stuff that's successful in the past. It's just these are the focal points to ensure that we grow as a member organization, that we successfully meet the needs, the changing needs, but the emerging needs of our members, both here in the United States and across the world in many cases. But I wanted to mention one in particular, like A, B, and C are fundamental to our organization. But D, be the driving force in addressing the issues of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility, and also justice within the interpretive profession. We had a debate at our meetings and our discussions, should this be a separate goal or should it be like embedded into all the goals? And the answer is, of course, it should be embedded into all the goals. And And we will be at that point, at some point in time, it'll become second nature, and it will be permeated into all that we do. But this is the first time it's arisen to be such a prominent piece, and it showed up in the focus groups and the membership survey that we really needed to ensure that members across the country are looking for ideas and thoughts of how we can ensure we provide for diversity and inclusion, equity, accessibility, and justice within our programming, as well as provide resources for our members. So we're keeping it as a separate goal and one that we're striving for. And a lot of that is being led by our Vice President for Programs, Parker McMullen Bushman, and a host of really great and engaged members across the board. So I'm not asking, there's no quiz at the end of this. The old professorship of myself, I'm not going to have a quiz at the end of this to ensure that you saw it, but do take a look at it. And we actively are looking for members, perhaps some of you in the audience, if you're interested in being involved with any of these strategic plan goals, just reach out to us. It's not just board members, it's not just staff. We're looking for engagement and involvement by members across the board, wherever you are. So do definitely reach out to us. Jay? Thanks. Open to questions now, I think.
Are there any questions about all of that Tom was talking about, the strategic plan and so many other things that are going on? Do I see hands being raised to volunteer? Oh, never mind. A lot is going on at the board level. Part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work started a few years ago, and you're probably familiar with the policy that was written, and you see that and the DEI statement that you see on our website, and you see that in our conference materials now. As part of that program, there is training. The board has training once a year in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're pushing that outward to regions and sections, to the leadership in regions and sections. So this summer, be looking for invitations to participate in specific webinars or specific training in diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we want this to permeate throughout the organization. We meet, our board meets every month, and we try to put Millward on the spot. He writes a monthly report for us about what's been going on in the office. And usually it's pretty good stuff. And so we meet by Zoom once a month, and that's coming up tomorrow to go over his report and talk about things that are happening. And one of the things that I'm really pleased with is Millward's jumping right into the concept of partnerships. Who can we partnership with to broaden our membership, to broaden our associations, to bring more into NAI so that our members have a broader scope of resources to select from and to apply to their own work. I think that's going to be a really strong suit that Millward has brought with him with his background. Millward, is there anything you'd like to add about the partnership efforts?
Well, Jay, thanks for the question. I think there's a lot of potential to expand the partnerships that we use to advance the field. And certainly some of the ones that I've been working on here in the short term include the state parks industry. I spent 10 years as the director of Wyoming State Parks and Cultural Resources. So through their association was very deeply enmeshed in the work that is happening around the country, and really excited about finding ways to bring more attention for the need of interpretation to be considered a core service throughout the entire industry, and finding ways to kind of accomplish that. So I've been meeting with a group of chiefs of interpretation in the respective state parks agencies around the country. And so I'm very excited about kind of expanding partnership opportunities there. Also, we have an opportunity to kind of fulfill both the goal of expanding partnerships and work on the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion work through a partnership we're going to be announcing shortly with the National Museum of the American Indian to bring more training and certification opportunities to Native Americans and people of indigenous backgrounds. And then I think we need to look at opportunities to expand partnership kind of in the global realm. And I've been working, for instance, with the Association of Heritage Interpretation to look at how we can take the Global Alliance for Heritage Interpretation and use it to kind of shepherd more opportunities for professional development and for responding to the needs of our field in a global kind of sense. So we're looking at the possibility of putting on a series of webinars that are kind of based on getting feedback from around the world and from the respective associations around the world about what the field really needs. So those are just some kind of early efforts, but really excited about putting a lot of energy into expanding partnerships. I spent a lot of years in the arts and humanities and kind of the cultural and museum world, and feel we could stand to really expand our reach and our awareness of NAI within that realm as well. So sky's the limit, I think, for leveraging more partnerships, and there's kind of what I've been doing in the early going.
And that's just, Millward's been here 6 months?
5 months.
5 months.
Yeah. And the wheels are rolling, folks. We're moving forward into new areas, and it's really an exciting time.
Yeah, it should be noted that Millwood the week he started was when the entire state of Colorado shut down.
Oh, that's right.
My first official action as executive director was closing the office because we were potentially exposed to COVID.
The things are
But
back.
we're back open now, so that's good.
So Mill, can you share with the members here a little bit about what the plans are for Palm Springs and the hybrid concepts that we're thinking about?
Well, like many, thanks, Tom. Like every association representing any industry that puts on conferences, what the whole conference world is obviously reckoning with is how to both move back towards the opportunity to have an in-person conference, but maintain the increased access that I think has been an ironic kind of benefit of being forced to learn how to put on virtual conferences. As Tom mentioned earlier, we had a record attendance at the national conference, which was entirely virtual in the fall. And we also kind of see this as a diversity, equity, and inclusion issue, because being able to leverage electronic access to conferences is a way of providing more access. So the trick is, how do you do both? So like many associations, we're going to be putting on a hybrid conference. We are going to go back in person to Palm Springs, but we're going to also simultaneously offer electronic access to the conference. And we're right in the process of figuring out how you do that and how you do that well. And the committee is very excited about conducting a site visit to Palm Springs and kind of figuring out the various sites that we can offer for folks to take in. I think you'll all agree there's a lot of hunger to kind of have an opportunity to get back and out in the field and actually see and touch and feel these important places in our heritage. And so we want to make sure we can provide that safely. The call for presentations has been out for about a month. So unfortunately on this call, I'm not able to reveal to you some of the presenters, but that will be known soon. So there's just a quick kind of snapshot at the conference coming up. And I can put a link to the dates in our chat here. I'll do that right now.
And I hope that some of the Sunny Southeast membership is looking at this seriously, because I know you guys do wonderful programs, and you have one of the most dynamic regions, and having you guys represented in Palm Springs is going to be great. It's interesting how things change, isn't it? Just, here, this was a disaster. What are we going to do? Here's the world is shut down. The pandemic is shutting everything down. And what are we going to do? And then switch, everything goes online. The national conference, what a chore. What an immense task to say, here's what we used to do. We always do what we used to do. We know how to do what we used to do, and it works. Now what? And the Deputy Director, Paul Caputo, and conference specialist, Song Stott, got their heads together and pulled a rabbit out of the hat that was just outstanding. And so now we're looking at going back to in-person meetings, but continuing with an online presence that's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and it's a new way to approach the world. And this has really pushed us into new areas, and it's challenging, but it's really exciting to see how we're going to solve some of these problems. And I think that we're going to see the National Association for Interpretation grow in membership and grow in influence through our partnerships with organizations like Millwood was talking about, through our international partnerships with the conference that we just held in concert with the interpreters in Mexico and in Canada is a great example of that, which would not have happened without this need. So I'm very excited about the future, and I hope you guys are too. And another commercial, we have elections, and we're always looking for dedicated board members to step in. So there's a challenge and an invitation for you.
Any particular questions?
Wait,
I was just saying, Jay, if anybody had any particular questions.
I'm not looking at the chat. Maybe it's full of
No.
questions.
Southeast region is a lot quieter on Zoom than we are in person. I'll tell you that much.
I've been there with you. I know this is quiet.
Yeah, I've got a question for the group, just a management question.
Okay.
I was just wondering how, our internships and things like that are going well, but we are not finding seasonal staff this summer at all. Nobody's applying, or very few are compared to previously. I just was wondering if other folks were having the same problem. Part of the problem is we don't pay anything, but still just way down from previous years.
Yes, we're having issues too.
I teach, and I know my students were looking for internships, but I've seen a lot of job postings for full-time jobs and for internships this spring.
Yeah, but full-time and internships, we're doing well with those, but seasonal things, we're just not getting anywhere.
So, Randy, that's a really good point. And I can't speak to all of the situations, but, and perhaps Philip might be able to share this, some thoughts about this too, but a lot of colleges and universities are still in, COVID pandemic mode. And students are, where your normal pool of applicants might be college students. who are attending state or private institutions across the country. And I've just seen, just in my own work that I'm doing right now, there are still communication links and disconnects that are occurring for their career centers at the schools and institutions. And the students are like, they may be in full in-person classes, or they may have a combination of hybrid or in-person or remote. And so I think many of the students, not all obviously, but many of them may actually, they're more challenged just to keeping up with the academic life currently. Like, we're getting, I also happen to coordinate the NAI National Student Scholarship, and we're getting some applications, and that's great, but it's not the same, inquiries like I used to get in years past, just people writing, I want to apply, is it too late? And so we're getting a nice pool of applicants, which is great, but at the same time, I haven't gotten a flurry of inquiries from people. And this is despite the fact that we're doing all the same promotion that we've done in the past. So I think there's some sort of like that audience are just wondering, misconceptions that places are closed, or they're not doing the hiring, so they're not looking, or they're just not quite sure of what the school system and academic institutions are doing on their own. So
yeah, where we're really hurting is we have reduced capacity camps this summer, and they are full. They are full for what we've got available, and we are going to be really challenged to have enough staff to run them. And it's I think, like everybody's saying in the chat, I'm finding people that are maybe heading back to home just to save the dollars, or they're going home and doing hybrid learning from home. And then I'm finding a bigger reluctance, and this has been a trend over the last couple of years for us, but a bigger reluctance to find people that are willing to work the entire summer.
Right.
So,
yeah, there's a number of things at play here. I agree with Tom. Our numbers are actually down. We have a number of students that have decided, I don't want to do hybrid, because we're doing hybrid here, and I don't want to do online. So I'm going to take the semester off. Several that are doing hybrid are working at home, and it's been a frustration for a lot of us. We have a great number of our students that are working online. They're at home, and they're working full time at home, and they're just seeing that as, well, I'm going to hunker down. And what we're trying to do right now is to encourage them we're saying we're going to be fully open this fall, and so we're trying to get them to look forward. But yeah, Tom's right. We're having issues with connecting to them, because normally I would see these students in class and I would say, hey, what you got going on for the summer? Well, it's a lot harder to do that in the online environment. And we just have students that are staying at home right now. So that pool is definitely reduced.
now I'll say our applicants the few we're getting are real good. I mean, we're getting people that, people don't come work for me at camp because they get paid a lot of money. I mean, they come to be around me and Kate. That's what happens. So
yeah, they want to work with Randy.
but the reality is that it's very different environment right now, and it's going to be, we can't just put warm bodies out there. Got to have real staff. So anyway,
I just want to point out that what Philip is talking about, this students at college and universities right now. So with my work with UMaine Cooperative Extension, I hear stories about they announced that they are coming back on full-time on-campus presence next fall, which you could apparently you could almost hear the students like cheering to hear that. If they're going to UMaine or any institution in person, that they're choosing to do that in person, and they don't really like remote or even hybrid. They like that personal connection, which is great for us and our field. But at the same time, they were so eager that as soon as they heard that, they were sending emails to their faculty advisors. Hey, I understand. When can I meet with you about the fall? I mean, they were like, how many times do students actually reach out to faculty and talk about fall scheduling? It's a pretty small number, you know, like, but people were getting emails by the dozens about, I want to meet with you. They're really eager to be back in person because they don't like the remote or hybrid aspects of things. And they're not getting the same communication, so.
If I may, one effort that's currently underway with NAI and led by the board that I think is pertinent here is something we're calling the Student Pipeline Task Force. Mm-hmm. And it's led by a board member who wasn't able to join us today, Aaron Gates with California State Parks. But what it does is it's intended to target towards younger, more kind of tech-minded folks and come up with a kind of recruitment media package that could be kind of deployed in schools and universities around the country as a way to communicate with students in the electronic formats that they're most comfortable with about career opportunities, seasonal career opportunities, and long-term career opportunities and interpretation. So hopefully that'll yield some good things that can help with this phenomena.
Really enthusiastic about that program. We did some research determining where students make decisions about career paths, and they begin making those decisions in junior high and talking with their counselors, and then carry that through. That may change several times in high school and may change in college. But what we find talking to ourselves is that we didn't even know interpretation was a profession, and we found it by accident. And that's still how so many of our great interpreters have found the profession. So we want to let these young students know that, hey, this is an option. This is a real profession, and this is what it is. And here's a path that you can follow to become a park interpreter, a nature center interpreter, a museum interpreter, and so forth. I think it has great potential for the future.
I'm really curious, so I need to reply to someone who reached out to me who I don't know, but found my name about trying to break into the field, and she has some background in interpretation and environmental education, so I have some ideas of how to respond. But also, you know, reflecting on my career, I spent a lot of years as a seasonal, but these days, you know, especially in areas where there's a lot of public land, I mean, where do they rent in my community? There's no place for someone who would be coming from somewhere else. You know, they're not in school anymore, just looking for work and ways to get experience. And unless a site has housing or some arrangement with a realtor or something, it's just really difficult, I think, for someone to be trying to break into a real, you know, an experience outside of, well, anywhere, I guess, really.
It's a great point, Cindy, because when I talk to students to try to convince them, like for instance, I'd really like to send some down to work with Randy and other places, but they're always very hesitant because of the uncertainty about housing and moving and things like that. And that's something that I've struggled with. One of the things with Tennessee State Parks that makes it so easy is they provide housing on site. And so the students are really attracted to that.
Mm-hmm.
We've also had situations where some of our interns, because of, you know, we've had hiring freezes and things like that going on, where we've been able to extend some of our guys longer. You know, they normally would be around just 1 or 2 semesters, and you know, if we let one go, then they may not let us rehire for a certain number of days. So we've been trying to work within the rules we have to try to keep them employed and, you know, keep the bodies and skills that we need on hand as well. So it's definitely an odd time.
I can just sort of speak to my own experience coming up in that sort of intern situation between 2008 up until 2017. I was in provided housing, whichever site I was at. You know, Cradle of Forestry had SCA housing. Unicoi State Park in Georgia had housing. When I went to Myrtle Beach State Park, they had housing for me, even as an no longer in school, full-time year-round ranger there. And I mean, when I went to New Jersey, the Wetlands Institute had housing for me. And I did get offered a full-time position at the Wetlands Institute in New Jersey, but when I was looking at a salary of $25,000 a year trying to rent in New Jersey, it simply wasn't possible. And so absolutely having, even if you can't call it salary, but having a housing allowance of $500 or $600 a month, if you're in these really high priced areas. I mean, Charlotte is ridiculous. I just helped my little sister. There, I see Christine's lips moving there. I just helped my little sister try and find a new rental, and it is so difficult. And so that's one of those things that if you're not going to pay well, you really have to figure out and do something super creative to get the talent in. You know, no one's in this field to get rich, but we do need to have to live. So thanks.
Very good points.
It's actually an issue here in Maine. You know, Maine State Parks, which hires hundreds of people every year, and they don't. In most cases, they don't provide housing. They have some limited pieces here and there. And all of a sudden, in this past year in COVID, all the housing has become a giant issue because of people moving or buying property. They're residents of other states, but they look at this vast part of Maine that's uninhabited without COVID raging. It is, but not the same level. And so the real estate business in the state of Maine has never been as busy as it is now. And so many of the state parks they're still trying to advertise, but they're really targeting locals because they can't get the folks that they hire at the wages they provide. Nobody could find any rentals. Even if they could afford it, they can't find any rentals for the summer.
And some of this is a factor of interpretation becoming more of a profession. Years ago, you did just hire somebody locally. If they had a few years of college and whatever, that was a bonus. But you hired somebody to do a few things they called programs, and they lived at home and drove out to the park and did their work and drove back home. Now we don't look for those people anymore. We look for a person with a degree, with 2 or 3 years of college, in a profession in a field that leads to interpretation. We expect a lot more out of them, and we expect them to travel from state to state, from across the country, to come to us and be a really good interpreter. And the benefits that we're providing that support that person have not caught up to the profession.
Well, that's partly, I think, the advocacy piece as well. I think that the advocacy is just very closely tied to this because it's making the argument for instance, we're hearing a lot about state parks agencies that interpretation is tied to revenue generation and self-sufficiency for the parks because it's a point of sale, part of the visitor experience that's so important and makes it so compelling for visitors. And we could stand to be much more assertive and organized about how we kind of advocate for the role of interpretation in the park systems.
So this is a really awesome conversation, and I wish we had more time to keep it going, but it is just about 6 o'clock, and I know we do have some people who have to sign off pretty soon. So I wanted to give anybody else, if they had any questions for the board, a chance to ask them specifically. And if there aren't any questions, I have a quick and dirty regional meeting to go, and then that'll be that for this portion of the conference. Anybody have any questions for the board? Cool.
Well, thank you so much for letting us join you.
Thank you guys.
Best wishes for the rest of the conference. I know it'll be great.
Thank you for jumping on. We really appreciated the opportunity to listen to you guys and get a chance to talk to you.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you all very
Great to be
much.
with
Take
you.
care.
All right. So just real quick, a lot of this, actually almost all of it, is exactly the same thing I talked about at the national conference if you were at that meeting. So officer recruitment, some of our leadership team positions are going to be coming open in the near future, or not so near future, in the next year or so. If you are interested in being a part of the leadership team as the director, deputy director, as the treasurer, you know, check us out, give us a little, oh, yes, sorry, notifications on the computer. You can check out the blog for our email addresses. You can give us a shout, find out what we do exactly. We are more than happy to tell you all about that. It's not a hard job. It's a lot of fun. You get involved in everything. If you're someone who likes what's going on all the time, like I am, this is a great job for you because you know everything all the time. You know what everybody's doing. It's a lot of fun. And you also get to liaise with the national office and talk with them and bring that information back to the regional level. And then I get to go tell the national office, hey, this is what my region is doing. And they get to go, what? So that's a lot of fun. We have a number of different ways that you guys can stay in touch with us. Oh, lots of people in the waiting room. This is great. Cool. Give them a chance to get in here. So yeah, if you're interested in being a part of the leadership team, hit us up. Our emails are on the blog. That is actually one of the ways that you can get involved with the region if you don't want to have a leadership position. If that's not something you want to do, if that's too much of a commitment for you, you can always contribute by writing on the blog. We are always looking for more people to write on the blog, and the topic is honestly up to you. If you just go over and scroll down the blog, you will see we go all over the map with what we talk about. It could be about what you're doing at work specifically, an event you're really proud of. You could write up a blog about how difficult it is to hire seasonal staff this year and solicit opinions from other people. You could get really abstract and talk about philosophical concepts if that's what you want to do. Honestly, it's up to you. As I always like to say, you're the artist, you are a writer, you're an artist. Your art is up to you. One of the other ways you can get in touch with us is the Facebook page. I know not everybody's on Facebook, but that is a great way to stay in touch with everybody in the region. You can throw up a question on there. Hey, where are you guys getting your seasonals from? People will answer you. You can throw up job opportunities on there. Hey, I have a seasonal job opportunity. We might have some folks on there looking for a job. It's also where we post important information about the region. That information also goes up on the blog, and we do try to email it to everybody. Now, I've been hearing from people that they don't always see our emails. We get your email address straight from the NAI main website. So if you have not been getting emails from us, what I need you to do is go check out your account on the NAI main website and make sure you've got the correct email address in there, because that is one of the critical ways that we use to get in touch with you. So please make sure that is up to date. Our state representatives. We are still looking for representatives from Florida and Alabama. If you are in either of those states and you would like to be a state representative, that is, you're on the leadership team, but you're not in one of the 4 big positions where everybody's watching you all the time. So this is a really fun position where you can just hang out with people in your state. We ask that you try to create get-togethers. They can be virtual like this. It could be a Zoom happy hour. in ye olden days when people used to be able to get together in the same room. You could get together at people's sites, you could go on field trips, you could have brown bag lunches. So that's something that we really like to see our membership doing, just getting together, forming that connection with each other, forming that social bond, albeit socially distanced in this era, and just getting to know each other and hang out. All right, big topic of the night, Regional Workshop 2022. We are looking for a site to host our 2022 Regional Workshop. If you are interested, or if you think you might be interested, if that just sort of sounds, hey, that might be cool, I would like to know more about it, please reach out to any of the officers. We would love to talk to you. We're hopeful that by 2022, we'll be able to meet in person again. So we'll go back to our regularly scheduled workshop of coming together. And the time to start planning that is right now. If this were a normal workshop year, at the end of this week, we would be announcing where the next workshop is being held. So if you are interested, or if you know somebody in your area who might be interested or who could be voluntold to host the 2022 Regional Workshop, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
Please don't make
last but
Christine
not
and
least-
I host it in Charlotte. Please don't make us host it in North Carolina. We already had one in North Carolina in the past 5 years. If nobody volunteers, it's gonna have to be here at our site because we're both at the same spot, so.
Yeah. Last but not least, we do have a session, at least one session of the Lunch and Learn / Happy Hour series happening every single day this week. We're covering a whole range of topics. Today we had our first one with Max Duggins talking about the pivot in outdoor recreation at lunch. I'm not an outdoor recreation person. Jolie will tell you, I don't do that stuff, but it was fascinating. I really enjoyed that session. So I would encourage all of you to jump on Zoom, attend a session, grab your coworkers, make them get on a computer and jump in too. There is an opportunity for everyone to learn something here, and it is completely free. So how often do you have that opportunity? Normally we charge you, what, a couple $100 for this opportunity? It's free. So come join us. Does anybody have any questions or comments or emotional outbursts that they need to share at this time?
Hey, Christine, I was just thinking, since Gene is not in our region right now, what are we going to do? Is he planning to stay on or what?
I do need to talk to Gene about what the future looks like if he thinks he's coming back here, because if he's not, like you said, he is in Texas now. That is definitely outside our region. So if he is planning to stay in Texas, that deputy director position should be opening up. So if that's something that you want to be a part of, or if you know somebody that you want to shove into that role, let us know. And I just saw Kareen's name and I realized I forgot something. One more way you guys can get involved with the region is the newsletter. It's going out quarterly, so we are always looking for people to submit to the newsletter. It could be talking about a program you did. It could be advertising for a program. It could be advertising for a job, or even just bragging about something that you or your site did that was awesome. So get involved. You can always send that information to Kareen.
I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So literally whatever good news, whatever you want to share, pictures, whatever it is, we're going to get that back up and running. I'm hoping to get one out after the workshop here. So even if it's anything related to the workshop, just please feel free to reach out, and I will send you in the right direction of how to help.
Awesome.
Is it?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Is there a possibility for the, and I'm on a boat right now, so on my way to work. So anyway, I just wanted to ask you, is there any possibility that the 2022 workshop might have recorded sessions so that I could still participate? Because April is typically my busiest month at work, and the prospect of me being gone for a week is like, probably not, but I could probably at least listen to the sessions on my days off or whatever that fall on the days off.
So I will say that our regional workshop has ranged anywhere from February through April, so it could be in any one of those 3 months. But I think, like the board was mentioning earlier, that moving forward, anything we do is going to have a virtual component. That is something that is a good thing that has come out of COVID. We've learned that we can do this, and this has made it more accessible to so many more people like yourself who don't have the opportunity to travel and come to these. So I will be watching them very closely to see how they handle the national conference and balancing the hybridness of that. I would love to make it so that we record these sessions or at least broadcast them. Technology. We'll figure it out.
Thank you. Please.
You're
My connection kind of timed out, so I wasn't able to listen to the whole thing. So, but yeah, I got service again. So anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for speaking up. All right, anybody else want to jump in the ring here? No?
Well, okay, let me throw this out there. I'm not promising anything, but I have 2 state parks within 40 minutes of the hotel that I work at that has 35,000 square feet of conference space. All right. Who wants to come to Myrtle Beach and run this thing? Okay. I got 2 state parks. I got a crappy little aquarium, but I got a place for everybody to stay. So somebody else needs to plan it, but I got physical spaces. Okay. Keep it in mind.
Make it work. We haven't done one in South Carolina in a while, right?
We haven't. We could put together a committee. It doesn't necessarily have to be an on-site committee, as we have seen from this. We were all in different spots. We can figure this out.
Here's your homework, Jessica. Go to the state parks and find some CIGs or various other awesome people that want to work with us.
Well, that's the easy part. I mean, I know Mike Walker is at Huntington Beach State Park. Ann Wilson is at Myrtle Beach State Park. But South Carolina State Parks does not jive with NAI. I don't know why, but it's always been really hard to, while I was in South Carolina State Parks for 6 years, I paid for myself to go to every single national and regional workshop because they were all out of state and they don't do any out of state travel.
Interesting. Well, then they should be for hosting it because then other people can go and they don't have to leave the state.
Yeah, you'd think. So, but my contacts are about 4 years old at this point. So I'm hoping you guys might have some fresher stuff. But, now that I'll be using my maiden name again, that might help. Who knows?
All right. Well, we can definitely kick the Myrtle Beach idea around. I love that. I love going to the beach anytime, as you can see.
And
It's a lot closer than Alabama for us, but not for Christy.